All right, let's go to running back. We got in the top 5.
I have Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey tied for number 1, believe it or not. Saquon Barkley, and then Nick Chubb, my boy, and then Leonard Fournette at number 5.
I have Taylor, number 1, McCaffrey, number 2, Barkley, number 3, Fournette, number 4, and Derrick Henry, pass catching Derrick Henry up in the top 5.
I was gonna say that the top 5 is pretty crazy this week because Dalvin Cook, probably not going to play or be limited, and then I just think Henry has a tough matchup. So, that's how Nick Chubb found it my top 5. But sticking with Henry this week, love it.
I mean, he caught what 5 balls last week, so I give them credit for kind of figuring out that it was whatever they were doing wasn't quite working. So if he's gonna catch, if he has the potential to catch multiple passes again. Like I think you pointed out that he was kind of doing that last year. I think he's right there, but Chubb is right there. Chubb is like essentially tied with him. So we'll see how that develops throughout the week. But who you high
on? So I think this is the week we see Alvin Kamara break out. He's my RB7.
Yep.
And right now the consensus is RB15. So I'm gonna be ahead of the ball game here because this is a great matchup for him. Last week he was banged up. He's playing through a rib injury, so he should be close to 100% this week. But the Vikings have been very beatable on the ground. They rank 31st in DVOA against the run. And this could be a week where Kamara is finally involved in the passing game. He tends to thrive against zone coverage. The Vikings run a ton of zone coverage. So this could be a week where, Alvin Kamara puts up 4 or 6 catches, hopefully. So either way, and I think there's an opening sort of in the RB1 tier this week with some injuries, tougher matchups that we finally see Alvin Kamara post a good game. And then last week I was down on AJ Dillon. This week I'm back on him. He's my RB19 versus the consensus is RB23 right now. But I didn't like him against the Buccaneers last week. I didn't think that was a good matchup or a good game script for him. But now, they're facing the Patriots and Brian Hoyer at home, so it should be a positive game script. David Bakhtiari finally made his season debut last week, so the offensive line is looking good. I think this is going to be a big Dillon game, so love him this week. And then I'm trying to get ahead of the J.K. Dobbins potential breakout game, so I have him RB29 this week compared to RB37 ECR. He returned a limited action last week, which we kind of knew, but was very encouraged to see him run around on 41% of Lamar's dropbacks. We're never going to really bank on much receiving usage from Dobbins, but this is essentially his backfield. I was kind of surprised. You and I were both surprised that Kenyon Drake was inactive. Mike Davis had 0 touches last week. Justice Hill is operating as the number 2 back. So I think once Dobbins is healthy, this is going to be his backfield. The Ravens have been extremely pass heavy this year, so that could change with Dobbins back. Ryan Stanley could return this week. So I think Dobbins could be a sneaky, low end RB2 flex option this week.
Ooh, that's
despite the tough matchup, obviously it's against the Bills, but
would you think about selling him if he had a good game? Like if you had him on your roster?
I think, all signs are kind of pointing to him, being in that low end RB2 range once he's healthy. But yeah, if he were to have a big game or two the next couple weeks and the Ravens are still passing as much as they are, then I would sell high. I'm kind of banking on them sort of just being this crazy pass heavy team because Dobbins has been hurt. So if that doesn't change once he's back, then I would consider selling high. But I do think he's sort of a buy low right now.
Yeah, no, what made me think of it was kind of watching Shep go down, unfortunately, on that last play of the game for the Giants. And I'm like, like you have James Robinson playing well, but we saw a bunch of like Shepard, big workload first 3 weeks and then goes down. Now he's out for the season. Chris Godwin comes back really fast from an ACL. First game of the year, gets like a compensation injury. Like all these guys seem to be getting like these compensation injuries where it's like another part of the lower leg than the part they injured. So like I feel like Robinson, Cam Akers, Dobbins, like I feel like if they have good big games, I'm trying to sell them because at this point I'm not a doctor. I know we can't predict injuries, but I just feel like what I'm seeing, the risk has to be higher than it is for just a normal player. at this point with these guys. So
yeah, that's a great point. And yeah, long term, that is a concern. I think they've been very conservative with him. I think obviously he wanted to play week 1, but they probably made him wait out, which other teams didn't do, especially when it came to Chris Godwin, unfortunately. So I take your point, but it is the running back position we're talking about.
Yeah,
RB3 flex option. So I just think in the meantime, he's sort of a buy low, but absolutely, like what you're saying, long term, it definitely is a concern. And they have no one else there, so maybe they are going to kind of force him to take too big of a workload too soon, but we'll see. But I think in the meantime, they really need him right now, so they're going to probably ask him to be sort of a workhorse back sooner than later.
How many carries do you have? I'm just curious.
Let me.
I got him 10. I got him 10.1 right now. So I that's,
I only
that's
have
subject to
9,
change.
Yeah, I have him 9.5 with 2 receptions. 0.4 rushing touchdown projection. That's probably fueling it. I just think his ceiling is much higher.
Yeah,
I'm still considering him, to be limited, but if this, Ravens offense does become a bit more run heavy, we're not asking for much. That could get him in the 12-13 carry range.
Yeah, no, I have him around. I have 10.1 for 42 yards, 0.37 rushing touchdowns, and then 1.8 catches for 13 yards, and 0.06 receiving. So yeah, just over 0.4 total touchdowns, just about 55 scrimmage yards. RB 33 for me right now. All right, Alvin Kamara, had him written down. He's my RB7 as well. You kind of nailed it. Dameon Pierce, he's up to my RB14. He's the RB26 in consensus. This Charger team on defense is not going to be the same defense without Joey Bosa. So that's a big jump, like a big boost for Dameon Pierce. And the last 2 weeks, he's gotten 100 and then 83% of the backfield carries for the Texans after, they kind of lamented that they didn't give him enough touches in week 1. And he's looked really good. So like me some Dameon Pierce here. And then Jamal Williams, you kind of mentioned DeAndre Swift. From everything I'm hearing, it sounds like they're going to hold him out through the bye in week 6. So Jamal Williams is up to my RB13. Seattle's 22nd in run defense DVOA and 26th on passes to running backs already. And, they're going to line up and play a lot of zone too. So, it's not a tough team to run against, at least not this year. It hasn't been. They usually take pride in their run defense, but the Lions O-line has just been mauling. Doesn't matter who's healthy, who's in there. Just a really good job by that Lions O-line this year. So Mara, Pierce, and Jamal Williams for me.
Yeah, I let you get Jamal there, but I'm super high. So he's my RB9 right now.
I saw that you have him at like 16 carries. I was like, I couldn't do it yet. I was like, all right, I'm projecting him to kind of keep that same like 60-ish%. And then like I have like Reynolds and Jackson, but like I did increase his pass game usage because that like without Swift, that has to go up. Like it just has to. Yeah.
Well, like thanks to you, I'm tacking on 2 or 3 leader carries on top of his expanded role. So I'm just a little bit higher than you based on your own advice.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I mean, a guy that's seeing all the goal line work in a game where they're projected to score 27.5 points. I mean, his touchdown upside is massive. His rushing upside is massive. And like you said, like his receiving usage has been solid. I mean, Craig Reynolds might be a thorn in his side this week, but I don't think he's going to have a big enough role to impact too much. So yeah, Jamal Williams is a top 10 option this week as far as I'm concerned.
Hey, famous last words, never sleep on a Reynolds in Detroit. Josh and Craig will come sneak up on you with some big games. All right, who you low on?
So I already alluded to this, but oh man, I hate to do it. Derrick Henry is my RB10.
Really?
Oh, yeah, wow. Yeah. And no,
how are we getting to this projection? We got to discuss this.
I agree with you on his receiving usage, but this Colts run D is no joke. Taylor Lewan being out for the season doesn't help. So this is just a brutal spot. And the Colts defense, they ranked 2nd in DVOA versus the run. They held Clyde Edwards-Helaire to one of the most bizarre lines of the season, 7 rushes for 0 yards and a touchdown. Not that he's that good, but I think that, Henry did look a lot better last week, but, the Colts know what the Titans want to do on offense. So he's just down to RB10 right now.
What do you have for his carries and yards?
So, I mean, I have the standard 20 carries, but I have him 78 yards.
Ooh, so you knocked him. his wide. I do have him under 4 as well, but I have him 21 for 81. So just a tad bit under 4.
It's just when you have a tough matchup like this against, the running game, this is a tough spot for him. And like I said, I'm super high on Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams. I still believe in Joe Mixon, believe it or not. So there's just a lot of guys I like slightly more. That's how he ended up in RB10. He's still arguably my favorite running back in the game, but this is a tough spot for him. So I consider myself the Derrick Henry whisperer, and I'm fading him this week. And then another guy that I've been high on him all year, but this is a tough spot, and that's Miles Sanders. This Jaguars run defense has been no joke. I mean, they ranked first in DVOA against the run. They held Jonathan Taylor to a 9-carry, 54-yard game. Austin Eckler, 4 carries for 5 yards last week. So a guy like Sanders, who just banks on his rushing efficiency week to week, can't bank on his receiving usage or touchdown upside. So this is a spot where I'm a little bit lower on him. He's my RB21 versus the consensus at RB16 right now.
Yeah, I'm 25 on Sanders. So I'm even lower than you. Yeah,
wow.
It's
what's your yard per carry projection for him? He's a fun player to.
In this game, it's only 4.3 in this game.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yep, that sounds about right. Normally it's what, 4.6, 4.7?
Yeah, let me check, because I actually do it like I have the matchup adjuster.
I mean, he's in the Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones camp, in my opinion.
I usually have him like 4 or 5. Yeah, so it's down about, the Jaguars are knocking it down about 0.2. But yeah, he's not as high as Jones and Chubb for me. But he's up there. He's one of the top ones. So yeah, I totally agree on that. Anyone else or?
No, that's it.
Yeah, so I had Sanders and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I know that the Colts were a tough matchup, but now he's facing the Bucs, which are another tough matchup against the run. And the consensus has him at RB22. I have him at RB31. I don't know how you're getting to 22 unless you're kind of giving him. And I essentially threw out the game where they just stomped Arizona, and because his usage, Pacheco came in for like the entire fourth quarter or something like that. But even just looking at the last 2 games when the games are closer, he had 50% of the backfield carries 2 weeks ago on that Thursday game. And then even with the 10 days rest, just 37% of the backfield carries in the matchup against the Colts. And McKinnon had the same amount, and Pacheco had 16%. So, and Burton has been their best short yardage guy, Michael Burton, the fullback. So it's just really tough. And I know these things will kind of switch around. Andy Reid, there's no real rhyme or reason, but at this point, I don't think you can bank on CEH getting, like those 15, 20 carries that you look for when you're ranking a guy in that RB2 range. And then in terms of his routes run, it's been around, in the 30s he's topped out at 40% routes run for the season. So I just don't see how we're getting as high as consensus here, unless, you're just banking on a touchdown. That could happen, but I have him well. All right. What you got for the prop?
We got to go with Jamal Williams, and we're going to go specifically his rushing yards.
Okay.
And I am going to set the line at 68.5.
Ooh, I'll go over. I love me some Jamal Williams. Yeah. I know you're trying to get me to go under, but I probably have his carries projected a little bit conservatively, just because I didn't know for sure if DeAndre was going to be out. I didn't want to have him ranked 5th.
Yeah, this is assuming DeAndre's out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. So what happens if DeAndre plays? Do I get like an alt line?
This is voided.
Okay.
It's voided. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. But yeah.
I'll go over then.
Okay.
He's been, he's just been excellent, and I think he doesn't even need like 18 carries necessary to get there with how good they're blocking.
Right.
So I'll go over.